afternoon, everyone. Good to see you all. Feels like the summer has gone by very slowly, but also very fast. Seems like yesterday we were in May, and now we're heading into back to school season. So good to see you all here, and I know a lot has happened and a lot of good work over the summer, and again, we appreciate it. Looks like we might have a storm brewing here, so I'm going to state that's why we don't have more active residents in the room. They're online. So, but again, welcome. We'll go ahead and get started with our agenda briefing today. I'll ask council, you've got your packets. If there's anything that you'd like to add or change on the agenda for this afternoon. None, staff? Okay. With that, I'll accept the motion to accept our agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Now. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is general business. First item under there is comments from the council and myself. I'll start with Mr. Now.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just first, I'd just like to thank the mayor and council for your thoughts and your prayers for my wife's mom passing away. Thank you very much, and thank you for the card. Thank you. And second thing I have is I'd like to congratulate the chief and his force for the great, for the good police work, because that good police work then turns over to great police work with the case following up on the breaking and entering and the traffic stop and then the warrant, and we got the bad guys. So again, great job by your force, and great job with you leading them. It's really paying off. So you got a good group of officers there.
Yes, we do.
Thank you. That's it. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you. Mr. Harris.
Okay, first I'd like to recognize Shane Harris, code enforcement guy. I called him one day. I had walked across the street at, I think I was at West and Wagner. And I said, there's these branches starting to hang down from that house on the corner that's been abandoned for a while. I said, when school starts, I don't know these people can actually see me, or I was standing there because I didn't, where I couldn't see the persons in the car. I said, they'd see us at that cross. You stand at that crosswalk. And said, I left about 2 days later, all of them started cutting down and they're piled up on the other side, cut all the way around the sidewalk and everywhere. So good response to get to that, because school's starting, like I say, real soon. Another one that, because every time I'm around a different one, they bring this up, and since, for people to hear, is that it's a Dollar General. Why did y'all spend this money? Why did you give us some dollars off? And I keep reminding them that usually it's be one of those people that were sitting on that strategic plan back in 2018, and they were wanting that area to be blocked off someday and moving Wagner, the road Wagner, go up to the highway. This is fitting right into what people had asked for during that plan. And when it comes available, you grab it, and it's going to pay for itself. But then, I probably won't live to see that road cut through, but eventually, maybe it'll be there, and the Wagner Street blocked off where we had planned on years ago. So I just tell them, and I look at them and say, I think you were on that committee when we were over there. And different ones, but it's like, people need to realize these are the opportunities that we had. To me, it's something that everybody said they wanted, was that open that area down there, and also Linton Street someday cut through. So we bought those two houses. So, we're doing our part, but we got to get DOT to do their part. So, and that's why I try to remind people. But the other one is get to great events, party in the park, and the National Night Out. That National Night Out, first time I've had to park all the way to the ball field to come back up there. It was like a lot of people there, great turnout. And I thought it went real well. And then I've got one other thing that is, I mentioned before on Rumpel Street, because it used to be a problem, but now it's getting even worse with these truckers, these dump trucks and cement mixers. They're not only, today I actually saw one, he went down Church and turned into the library and came over to West to head it out, I guess, to Tally Street or Brookside or where he's going. But they're driving those streets, And then my grandson, the other day, he was riding his bike, and here is it Downing that runs around and comes down to Church Street. Here comes a dump, it's like two dump trucks come down that street. I mean, they have no business being, because Tally is a state road, right? They should be coming out Tally to the other state road, if they're going over that way. And it's just like, we had Rumpel, and they kind of slowed down there, but now they're just cutting through back streets. My granddaughter said cement mixers went by their house the other day when she was out there playing. But I'm not sure what they're cutting down through there.
There's work in that neighborhood,
Whereabouts?
right up around the corner, there's two different houses that had, yeah, Valley Brook.
But Valley Brook's on the other end, your Tally, you turn out right there, your Tally was a state road.
I understand.
But not to come down Downing Street, Thomas Street, Gibson, Church. I mean, it's unreal where these dump trucks are. They're rolling around through there, and some little kid on a bicycle, they're gonna get seen. But anyhow, that's just, I just feel like they don't need to be over there. They should be on state roads. Other when they go right to where they're at, it should be a straight route to that point where they're working, and not run through all the neighborhoods with dump trucks. And we get gravel. Remember we had gravel dumped out on Rumpel Street one time. So anyhow, I don't know what we can do to stop them, but it's just really getting pretty bad. Maybe that speed bump will slow them down.
That might be an answer. Ms. Harris?
I just also wanted to mention National Night Out. Very good turnout. I too had to park way down the ball field, but not that I couldn't use the exercise, but that was a pretty lengthy walk. But anyway, I enjoyed it, getting to meet some new, different citizens that I hadn't met before. Of course, there are many more that I haven't, but it was just good to talk to different citizens that night. Looking forward to the pep rally on Tuesday, and that is all I have. I mean, tomorrow. It's tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
All right, I'm just going to parrot what everybody else said. I would like to point out that from an attendee's perspective, there were, even though the two of them were relatively close together, you can see where, I don't know, just again, this outside perspective, but like lessons were learned, changes were made, and improvements were made. And the second, I mean, that's as good as the first one was, the second party in the park was even better. I had an absolute blast. Again, great turnout. Same thing with the National Night Out. Well put together, well laid out, easily walkable. You got to see a bunch of different groups mingling, both with the citizenry and even the different departments. And so it seemed like, just not only do we have a good one here in Troutman, under Josh's leadership, but we're surrounded by some, and we could see some camaraderie between the different, and that as a citizen, that made me feel really good. Yeah, again, hats off to all the staff, hats off to the chief and his department, and yeah, it was just some great events in the park, and I'm very proud of them, so thank you.
Mr. Hinkle?
Well, just to add a little bit to what's been said, I'm still seeing, and I know there's probably no way we can prevent it since we're talking state-owned highways, but they're still coming out down there at Murdoch Road, New Murdoch Road, not old, and making a left there. And of course, some of them are very long and having to come around slowly, and people back up. And I mean, I've been caught up in that several times. And again, I'm just talking. I don't have the answer for it since it's you can't force. It's an open highway, and I just can't understand why drivers can't understand and follow directions when a sign points one way and they say, well, let's go another way, even though GPS, maybe some of those have surely been in there long enough to know that that's a better way to turn left instead of right. But anyhow, that just made me think of that when you were mentioning about the dump trucks and so forth. But just to parrot the rest of you at the National Night Out, the Party Park, all of those things, wonderful. Glad to see email today that some of us, all of us, probably got another phase of continuing to improve on our park and make it even more attractive up and beyond what it is now. So looking forward to that in due time. And don't know if I'll be at the pep rally. And probably some reason I'm surprised they still even have pep rallies now. All these kids you say pep rally and say, what in the world are you talking about? Kind of like a wheel dial phone. What's that all about? Anyhow, but looking forward to upcoming football season and cooler weather comes with it and so forth. And with that, sir, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you.
I would like to add, for those of you who had a rough walk, you gotta get there early. Gotta get there early. If it starts at 6, you better be there at 5:45 and get you a good parking spot and to get you a burger too.
Yeah. Don't-
Almost seems like anything at the park.
I have a band student, I have to get that early.
Yeah.
No, again, I'd like to make sure we send our condolences to the Now family, and again, we have thoughts and prayers definitely with you all still. It's not something that one and done, and as you all know, I lost my father last year, and so again, please let your wife know that I'm still thinking about her.
Thank you.
National Night Out and Party in the Park, again, a lot has been said. I can't imagine the amount of work that went into doing both, but they both were done very well. And I've heard a lot of great things from citizens in appreciation for both. And again, I think it goes to a lot of the work that the staff as a team pulls together to do. So thank you for doing that and making sure that you know, our citizens and surrounding citizens, quite honestly, because you know, we hear from people who aren't in the municipal, you know, when we don't do certain things in our town, you know, they miss it as well because they're showing up. And so again, it was great to see, even at the National Night Out, the support from law enforcement by the county and surrounding law enforcement. I probably have missed it each year. I was telling somebody that, you know, I remember National Night Out, we were doing it out here in the parking lot. And, you know, it wasn't nearly probably a fraction of that amount. So, again, Chief and the staff pulling all those folks together and bringing their vehicles out and sharing some thoughts with both our citizens as well as surrounding community citizens. I think it was, you know, a really good night and very impactful. So thanks for doing that. And I don't remember, my wife got lost talking to some of the also agencies that were out here. And so again, I thought that was a great ad as well. And so some agencies that can do some good things in our community and having them part of that National Night Out, I think was also a good impact. So thanks for doing that. I didn't get a hot dog. I didn't need a hot dog. As you know, I could use a little bit, but again, I think people really appreciated even something, you know, a token of the town being able to provide something like that. So again, good stuff. So again, can't speak, you know, more highly enough of it. I did watch the news a little bit and saw some other towns had, you know, smaller events considering the size of their towns, and I was like, well, you should have came to Troutman. You really should have, because it was awesome. But again, good stuff. So, you know, the only thing I would say again, you know, just kudos to Ron and the team. Just knowing how we all work together. I was coming down the road the other day and some dump truck dropped, I don't know how many, you know, I mean, how much mud on Perth. And I mean, just right in the middle of the road. Yeah, I came back through and the fire department was out there, and those guys, you know, I mean, they're there to service from a fire perspective, but also from an emergency perspective, and they were out there, you know, and they got it up really quick. So again, just, you know, kudos to the community work that all of our agencies do together, and so thank you for doing that and making sure that that got handled. So with that, we'll go ahead and go to our next item, which is staff items, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the nice comments. I would just echo that the summer months are a lot of time to vacation and enjoy time off, and for staff, it's the time that we also wind up working extra to make sure that certain events, our town is shown to be in bright lights, whether it be Independence Day Parade or the National Night Out or Party in the Park events. But our staff, in various respects, come out and works a lot of hours, and the feedback from the community, and not just you all as elected officials, has been tremendous this season, and I really appreciate that. Item number 2 for staff items was introduction of Camille Leahy for Design Review Board. She couldn't be with us, she's sick. She will try to be here Thursday. And that's unfortunate, but we will try to see her then. Item number 3, I'm excited to talk about a little bit, but honestly, I'm not going to talk much. I'm turning it over to Emily Watson. I will just add, a lot of these things, it's easy for a person on the outside or somebody not involved with some of these grants and or some of the things it takes for us to get matching grants sometimes, or to apply for these things. But when you have departments with a lot of personnel, I will defer to Council Lady Harris, working in Charlotte-Mecklenburg. When you have a department with lots of people, you can designate a full-time staff, not just one person, a whole staff who does nothing but goes out and write grants and try to get found money, so to speak. Well, with us for years, and you've heard me say, we had a part-time employee that became a full-time employee, and then they're doing all these things, and there's just not enough time in the day. So without me keep beating that dead horse, I will turn it over to Emily to say, hey, it's not just as simple as raise your hand and say, can I please have some money? Emily, please go ahead with this report.
Well, this grant's pretty simple, straightforward. Doesn't require much from us on going forward on the back end. We were granted $15,000. The back half maybe wasn't as simple. They required a good amount of paperwork, justifying why we needed to replace some outdated, unsafe equipment with our soccer goals, soccer nets. We needed bleachers. So the justification took a little bit of extra work, but we were granted $15,000. Just need you all to look through it and need your approval. There's no match from the town. They do ask to be able to use our logo, and Gary had some concerns with that, but the manager didn't see any concern there. They just want to put it on their website. But there's some paperwork from me that will just be some reporting, but that's nothing abnormal, so just need your approval.
We had several meetings with this guy while you all are pondering. It's not just as simple, and I appreciate Emily speaking so softly. A lot of these are geographical, some of them are economic numbers that requires some research to go out and do. On one hand, it's great to live here in Troutman. When you're going for some of these grants and funding, we don't fit a lot of these criteria. So that you can invest 20 or 30 hours into a grant writing thing only to find out you don't qualify. So it does take a lot of time and research to get these, and sometimes the research can be used in multiple things, but there was a lot of effort went into it. I will just add part of the things just for everybody's thing of what we was talking about, the trademark. They did not have a time specific as far as using the town logo. Gary suggested we may put that in there. To me, there was verbiage in that agreement that you can see that it allude to there would be time frame, but that's one of those, if they come up 20 years from now and used our logo that they had given us money, does that really cost us any harm or foul? But you are welcome to ask Gary what other harm he feels may arise from that, but that was my interpretation.
That was my only other question.
Go ahead. John?
Was there any other concerns? It was just the timing area?
Yeah, just obviously it allows images and seal and all that to be used in perpetuity, whether they do it or not, the whole different thing. I was just doing it,
Is there a typical time frame that would be put on such a?
I can't tell you that there's a typical, probably obviously just deals, each one is separate. I suggested maybe 6 months to a year, and I don't need him to use it much beyond that. Pretty broad, policy.
I think they, on their website, they have a running list of who all they've given money to over the years. So I think that's probably the value of using our logo or our name. Just a collective list, or these are all the communities that we've supported. These are all the organizations. I don't think they're wanting to use our branding for any other purpose than that, just to show support to us. This is who all we've supported with this foundation. That would be my,
It being a national company, I can't foresee there being any usage of that without it coming back to haunt them in the future. Meaning, small town of Troutman wouldn't be the only one that would be, wait a minute, why are you using a picture of our mayor? And he don't want you to 20 years from now.
I'm sure that wouldn't happen.
Well, if it's behind bars looking out, they probably wouldn't want to use that in.
Yes, that's exactly right. I can tell you right now, they want to promote their activities, so that wouldn't.
Are you looking for a
We need a
motion on that today?
We do need a motion. The contract they sent over actually asked for Emily as the Parks and Rec Director to sign. Typically for these type agreements, either the mayor, 95% of the time signs them, or in you all's motion, you can allow either Emily or myself, or we can ask it to be reworded for it to be the mayor. But ever how you all fit. But yes, we need a motion to accept it and or to allow Emily to sign it as our representative, or to reword it so that the mayor can sign it, ever how y'all want to do it.
How about, and I mean no disrespect, Emily and you? Is that okay?
that's fine.
Again, I mean no
No,
disrespect.
that's fine, and we'll both sign the reporting that goes out. They have to have reporting by December, so we'll both sign the reporting.
I was gonna say, who wrote the
Are you
grant?
okay with that?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Then I'd prefer that you sign for it. That's me. You did the work, you earned it, you get to accept it. That's how I would typically approach something like that. Unless there's, historical things that I'm not aware of, council's past.
My only consideration would be, I think where Mr. Hinkle, maybe I'm wrong, but just from an accounting perspective, audit perspective, to having 2 people sign off on it might be good practice.
And it's, the chief officer of the town, so to speak, being our town manager, and then the director of the department involved, is my thinking. Not just aesthetics, but as the mayor said, audit-wise as well. Well, in that case, if I may, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the grant agreement from Dick's Sporting Goods Foundation awarded to the town of Troutman Parks and Recreation Department with the department director, Emily Watson, and our town manager, Ron Duck Wyatt, signing for the town in the closing of this agreement, or the closing of the agreement and making it effective, or contract, I should say, awarding, whatever term you want to use. That's my motion.
Motion's on the floor to approve the agreement with signature as our Parks and Rec Director, Ms. Watson, is primary, and our town manager also backup. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? Great work.
Excellent.
I don't know how many times we get an opportunity to get these kind of grants, but anything for our parks. Great work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
While you're on that, it just reminds me, I think I mentioned to y'all before, obviously Troutman does not have a policy of the manager or someone else being able to sign contracts. All contracts have to be signed by the mayor. A lot of towns do have policies where the manager, for instance, can sign a contract up to a certain amount. They charge them $50,000, and some are less, $45,000 or $50,000. Just remind y'all of that again, you can't have that kind of policy, and you don't have to deal with signatures.
All right. Definitely something to consider going forward. No other question or comment?
One comment I would like to, Councilman Harris came by earlier this afternoon and visited. We will have the unveiling later this week, weather cooperating. All of you that get a chance, please go by the ESC Park and look at our volleyball courts area. They are being rehabbed. A lot of work went in today, so we appreciate Lowe's and all those partners that are making great headway out there today.
And I did have a chance to speak to Lowe's at the National Night Out, another one of those great opportunities. So, and thank them for the work that they're partnering with us on. So, good stuff.
Jake is smiling a lot today, but he wasn't hammering just yet.
Oh, okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you.
Our next thing is discussion of regarding feathered flags. I don't want to speak out of turn, so you all kick me in the knee if I start talking too loud or going down a path that you all don't want me to go down. Last month, we had a business owner to come to us and ask you all to reconsider our ordinances on feathered flags. And on one hand, I get it, and I'm saying that I get it, and I've told several of you all I get it. Lynn and I have talked, and while we understand on one hand the part that I want to say for public consumption and you all's consumption boils down to we have to decide based off of what you all's feedback that you're getting as elected officials, what you envision the town is and what it should look like. A couple of you all commented within the last couple years that this, without mentioning any specific spots, that you all had complaints of one place in particular north of here, that there were multiple banners. At one time there were 4, Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, 4? At the one place there were 4 that we had to remove up there that were not in keeping with the ordinance policy that we had. We were directed as staff, and when I say we, I'm still a staff member, but I will candidly admit that Lynn and Andrew did 99.9% of all the work that involved in going back and looking at other municipalities. What is their ordinances, where are we at? And sometimes when we do those research, we compare ourselves to towns like our size, and then a lot of times we come back and we compare ourselves to our immediate neighbors because that's who we're sharing citizenship with. What Statesville do, what does Morrisville do, and I mean no offense by this statement to Statesville or Morrisville, but quite frankly I don't care what they do sometimes because we are a tribe, and we don't want to compare ourselves on a level to them. We want to be the one they compare themselves to. And I say that with a little bit of brassness so that they also can try to get to where we're at. But in doing so, we found out on the feathered flag ordinances that Morrisville does not allow them, and that Statesville does under certain circumstances. And based off of that, we came back because of complaints that you all had, because of complaints that we dealt with as staff, several to me directly, several to Lynn and or to our code enforcement directly, That's what the code, that's what the ordinance with feather flags was presented to you all. The one business owner that came before you all last month, if I interpreted them correctly, and I'm not trying to put words in their mouth, basically said their business hinged on being able to add another flag. And while to me, that was a little bit eccentric of a statement to make. If a business truly exists or will fail because of a flag, it's in dire straits, and there's nothing we as a town can do or not do about that. But it boils down to aesthetics. You all have got to make a comfortable decision, what is good for all, and one for all and all for one. And if you're going to be okay with citizen complaints that this one particular spot's got 4 or 5 flags, this spot over here's got flags on property that's not a business, or 3 flags that is a business, then my only statement that I'm making is we as staff will do whatever you all suggest that we do. But the whiplash effect of flags, no flags, it puts staff in a quandary. We're trying to enforce and follow you all's wishes as elected officials, but if we go through and say, well, this district can do this, this one can't, our ordinances allows that in certain instances, and I will use one discussion that we are told is going to come up later this week, would be like our murals. Our murals are allowed in certain areas. You just can't go paint a mural wherever you want to in town, for example. So you certainly could say, well, in certain areas, we will allow feathered flags, but we won't allow it in others. Or in this area, we may, if it's zoned this, we may allow 2, but we won't allow it in others. But I don't know that there is a right answer that we can make every business owner or citizen happy, because there's some citizens that don't like them and think they're projectiles waiting to be set off for storms. That when they come, they're going to go. And I really do not have an answer. Lynn, did I say anything that you would like to add to or subtract or add commentary to?
I think you did a great job. Yeah, you all had just asked for suggestions. So I agree with what the manager said. We did have a conversation about it and kind of talked about, we see direction from you all, how you would like us to handle this. And I did put together some suggestions as you asked, and those are in your packet. As the manager suggested, we could limit these to a specific zoning district. So CB, the CB district, for instance, you could allow more there. You could, because currently we're limiting them to 1 per property, and they can do it 12 weeks a year. That's the ordinance that you all recently adopted. And they can choose to use that 12 weeks however they like. If they want to leave it up 12 consecutive weeks, they can. If they want to break it up, they can use those days however they choose. If they wanted to leave it up on the weekends only, they've got a lot more time to use those feather flags. So they do have some flexibility there. What it does not allow them to do is put a feather flag up and just leave it there every day indefinitely, which is what we heard from the council is what you wanted us to be able. You were looking for some language in our UDO that would help control that. But you could choose a specific zoning district, allow them there more often, allow them there, more than 1. That would be a suggestion specifically in that CB district. One thing our ordinance does not allow now is temporary banners. A lot of towns will allow businesses to put up a banner that's like a grand opening banner or a banner that advertises a special event, and they're very short term. You can't have them but for a couple weeks at a time. We currently don't allow that at all. So that might be another option. So those are just some suggestions that were made, but I agree with the manager. We do need to be kind of careful about just deciding how we want the town to look.
Thoughts, comments?
I have a question. So I'm sorry. Just this whole issue kind of got me thinking. So maybe just as a refresher for me, but what alternatives do our current business owners have under the current ordinances when it comes to temporary signage? You did mention the banners, but there's 1,001 ways, right? So
And really the federal.
Because we're gonna end up just playing whack-a-mole, you know, before it's over with, so.
And as far as temporary signage mounted to the property, there's really not. You can have a vehicle, that people do. Like some of the food service places, of course, if they have a food truck, we have ordinance there for that. Some people get that, but a lot of towns have gotten more strict. Some do not even allow a permanent sign that is fluorescent. So, and even we have ordinances that allow the changing of colored lights. So even then, we have a certain size that can have, some are grandfathered in, some are not. But when you go to certain municipalities now, and that, again, depends on you all. I'm not advocating that you do one way or the other. I'm just saying that currently, to answer your question, there's really not. People can put up the little, we call them sandwich boards, they're called different things. You can put one of those up, you can take it in. It can't be left, it's not supposed to be on the sidewalk. Some wind up there, but some people put up little clamshells or sandwich boards. That's something that can be done. At
And
one
those are
time,
permitted currently.
The senior sports are, and the feather flags are temporary signs as well.
Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to
Yeah,
interrupt.
no. And there's little things like that, balloons, but they don't say things.
Right.
But as far as like putting up a banner, it's specific as to what can. There's, if a vehicle moves, you can put it up, but you can't leave it there.
And one other thing too, I want to point out in terms of the amount of square footage for a ground mounted sign that our ordinance allows right now is very generous. We actually allow a little bit more than some other communities. So they can do things on those ground mounted signs that where they can maybe switch out signs or do things like that that would allow them to advertise other uses that they have going on as well.
Yeah, that was just my line of thinking was like, okay, before we go changing anything that we've already done, right, is, you know, what other options are currently there? You know, if I own a business here in town and I wake up this morning, I want to run a special and I want to put a sign out in front of my business, what are my options kind of deal? You know, so that's.
And window signs, I think you see some businesses utilizing those. I think the bakery right here is utilize those. Anything inside of a window is not counted in town.
One of the things I will say also is design has a lot to do with marketing. And I'm certainly not going to say, if you take a business with a facade like ours here at Town Hall, well, then you're limited as compared to a grocery store facade as to what you're going to market on the two different styles of building. And I'm just using those as an example. But if you have a sign that's in the front of your business and it's very generic, but yet it's got some type of scroll on it that's hard to read, somebody drives by it at 40 miles an hour, they have no clue what your sign said.
Right.
But if it's a house with a red door on it, they notice that one, even though they drove by 10 that had beige doors. Which house door are you talking about? The one with the red door. So there's certain design that people can do to draw attention, and I'm certainly not that design guy that says they should do this. But when it comes to signage and the appropriate signs, there are definitely expertise and marketing strategies out there that some people use, and I'll use business cards as an example. Look at them. Some are way too busy and you have no idea. And then others just simply have a name on it and you have no idea. So somewhere in between is the right edge.
Yeah, like yard signs. Is that something that is allowed currently? Only political ones during the given time frame, right?
Well, you can have like a real estate sign for sale, things of that nature that are temporary in nature.
Okay.
Campaign signs every season that goes haywire. People think they can just put them up in state right of way. No, that's somebody's property. It's not.
Who would do such a thing?
Then, let me ask you, the V signs, clamshell, sandwich signs, whatever term you want to give them, are they allowed, under our current code, are they allowed, if someone takes them in at night, puts them out in the morning, takes them in at night, are they allowed, and is there a time limitation?
There's no time limitation, and they're allowed in certain zoning districts, yes.
I'm gonna tell you CB, since we're talking about CB, let's just stick with that for right at the moment, since that seems to be the focus for this
They are.
particular topic. So they would be allowed, so as opposed to a feathered flag, if someone had a special that day, 10 cups of coffee for $1, they could go out there with their V sign and put it, in front of the store, and obviously as long as they take it up, close the business, they're okay doing that.
And there are some requirements of where they can set it on the property and that type.
But again, they can do it under certain restrictions, limitations.
Yes, sir.
Number 2 question, or discussion. And I was thinking about this too, and I agree with everything the manager and Lynn has said. We don't want to appear to be willy-nilly. We don't want to go undo, what we're trying to do, the grand scheme, the grand picture of trying to, as I think as one comment was, we don't want our Main Street looking like a carnival. And I certainly agree with that. Excuse me, I agree with that. So, having said that, just increase, not changing anything else other than changing it from 1 week a month to 2 weeks a month. Now, that would be, obviously increasing from 12 weeks to 26 weeks over the course of a year. Is that harmful, so to speak, from what we're trying to achieve?
I can say personally, I think everything has its place. And if we had Flag Day, for example, for all businesses in town, I think that in itself would draw people to our town. But and you're gonna have some people to do flags and some that will never do flags. And me personally, as long as they're installed personally, I don't care if they have banner flags. I really don't. But then when you have people that stick them and one's going this direction, one's going that direction, and it looks childlike, that's when we start to look funny. But the ones with the swirls instead of the ones that are nice and expensive, that's when we get into governing things that's really not our place, I guess. But to answer your question, to me, personally don't matter. I think there's value in art in a lot of different ways. And to me, these banners are some other people's way. I can say, me as a consumer, I have never stopped anywhere because they had a banner. I'm not going to start. That banner's not going to make me, oh, crap, I need to stop there and see what the coffee is. I'm not doing it. They got a cheeseburger special. That fat guy need to go in there for that. I'm not doing it. But to some people, I'm sure, that little slinky man falling up and down, I gotta go in there. Whatever they're selling, I gotta have some of that.
Exactly, the product that's being sold inside should be enough that's why the people are gonna go in there. Not a man going like this, or a flag, or a sandwich board. So, I mean, if the product is good, the people are gonna stop in that restaurant. If the product is good, the people are gonna stop in that store and buy the goods that are in it. So, just one question for Lynn. Is there an amount of sandwich boards that could be put per, I guess, store or a location?
It would just
Can they
be
have more than one?
I don't believe so.
For one.
Correct.
And that has to be put out in the morning and then taken down at the close of business.
Mr. Harris?
I was just thinking, and listening to what Jerry said, before we go too far, we don't want to reverse back and forth, we just have a good sound bearing. I went back and read what she said, for our minutes, and she stated that she does not understand the ordinance and how it is written. She suggested that maybe the town have a discussion with other businesses affected by the ordinance and allow business flags or something to assist with advertising. So maybe we need to go back out and just visit some of these that have used other different kind of signs and see what's really working for them and where we at.
One thing I will say, again, Scuttlebutt says Thursday night y'all gonna get some more discussion about murals.
The bad monkey, you
You know, yeah, but with the flag, like I said, her thing was, go talk to other business, I don't think she has to make a rash decision.
Well, you know,
The only one crazy?
I was just gonna say, you know, the bringing up of the sign, and, you know, I'm looking at something that will, you know, catch attention, and I understand where it's coming from. If, you know, if you're selling a good product, word's gonna get out there, whether you advertise on the radio or television or word of mouth. And, you know, they've got a nice, you know, I believe they have a land sign out there, and so forth. So, you know, with allowing for a special, you know, it's like like Jerry said, you know, I wake up in the morning, I got a business, all of a sudden I wanna, if I'm a barber shop, I'm gonna give haircuts at half price that day. So you know, you've got a means of sticking something out there to catch the attention of someone that knows you're there, but hey, maybe I'm gonna stop in and get a haircut today, it's half price, and draw in new business and so forth. So, you know, I feel better that Ms. O'Malley has the option of putting something out there in lieu or in addition to her feathered flag once a month, or for 1 week a month, however she wants to use that. That she also has the option of putting out a sandwich sign to catch the attention for any specials, or any special design, artistic purposes with an advertisement scrolled in amongst the artwork and so forth, if they want to do a little attention grabbing and so forth for new customers, new to town. Hey, I'm here, you know, look at me, come in and get a cup of coffee and learn about me. So, you know, having that, I'm going to say personally that that was my concern, is that, you know, businesses, you know, they need to advertise, but towns need to keep that within limited parameters, so as not to become, and I'll use the term again, a carnival, especially in your highlighted areas of town. So, you know, I'm fine with, the only thing I would say is if, you know, if we did make any changes, whether it's now or down the road, I would not change anything with our current ordinance other than maybe increase the flag time to 2 weeks as opposed to 1 week per month, if we did that. But I don't even know that we need to do that if this option with the sandwich signs out front presents a means to a business owner, you know, for advertising purposes, especially in spur of the moment or temporary needs.
So, just as we're sitting here, I think we're also might be on the tornado watch, so I want to be cognizant of people in the event that we have some type of emergency issue. So, I'll leave it up to the manager and the chief to wave our hand to make sure we know where we need to go or do. But just a couple of things. I think, at least my thought when we...
All jokes aside,
Yep.
if it happens, we go out this door into these restaurants.
Got it.
Seriously.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
When we were considering the ordinance, it was in the spirit of trying to actually allow feathered flags. And I think, at least the conversations I was having, was people wanted it to be allowed, which we allowed it, with some parameters. For those who haven't been on council, Mr. Hinkle might realize this, but we had a lot of conversations in the past around signage and making sure that our town looked presentable and in a more consistent way. And we had signage around town that didn't look great. And some of those folks have invested a great deal of money to upgrade their signage, make sure their signage looks good, which in essence, make sure our town looks good. And so I too did a little homework, and again, just some of the communities that I deal with. Of course, I work for a small grocery chain as well, and periodically, you know, we like to put up feather flags, grand openings in particular. And every one of those communities require a certain amount of time in which you can put that signage up and remove it, if they allow it. And so, most of those communities, when I asked some of my folks about it, allow no more than 14 days, in a lot of cases, 14 days a year. So on average, it was somewhere around anywhere between 7 to 14 days.
Per year.
Yeah, for a lot of my stores. And so that kind of showed that, I mean, we've got some flexibility. Again, there's a lot of towns like Mooresville or like Statesville where, you know, there might be some differences. But it seems like we've got some flexibility in the way that the ordinance is written that allows this to go on for a full year, at least 1 month, you know, 1 week a month. And so to your point, if we want to allow more, I think it's, you know, no more than, you know, 2 weeks a month, because you also get into what a lot of the communities that, at least what I was reading about, have issues with the maintenance of the signs. So then you've got to have your code enforcement to go out and maintain, you know, okay, that sign is tattered, that flag is tattered, somebody's got to go out and pull that sign, or, you know, go tell that business, your signs don't look good, or whatever. So you, from a code enforcement, you're also going to have to deal with that.
It seemed like we had that issue with some bad looking signs.
Some bad looking signs. So just FYI, again, I'm not saying that, you know, the particular business owner signs would ever look bad. I don't expect that. But I'm saying just from a town perspective, you're also going to have to manage, you know, how those signs look throughout the town. So just a little bit other perspective that I wanted to share. So with that, again, just thoughts on the ideas as presented by staff and/or any recommended changes at this time.
I don't have any recommended changes at this time. I actually liked, again, yeah, I guess be careful of what you wish for, but I liked your idea of maybe getting some other input from some other business owners. If, at a minimum, just to see their perspective and how they view this, because that's the thing, it's, even what the mayor says, we're being told that we're restricting when the spirit was that we're allowing, right? So I think there may be some communication things that might be able to at least maybe facilitate any changes we make, you know, to where we'll be able to actually put this to bed and not, you know, throw them an extra week a month and hope they don't come back. You know, you know what I mean? It's, I'd rather go into a motion like that, knowing that this is what the business owners want, they're going to be satisfied with it, and we can put this to bed.
Sir, we little deja vu. We did that about back in the early 1990s. And we've had a little committee formed. And it's kind of like to be careful what you wish for.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we'd listened to that committee's recommendations, you know, you remember the town, the Christmas movie, Jimmy Stewart did it, where he comes back and the town's all, you know,
yeah.
It was almost like that, you know, from, but again, it was a situation where the businesses wanted almost just free reign, whereas almost very little regulation. So I had no problem listening, but again, you've got to understand, you're going to have some that want to push that envelope as much as they can. And so.
And I understand that, you know.
Yeah. But there's certainly nothing wrong in asking. You're exactly right.
Yeah, but I don't see this on the agenda for Thursday, so is this something we need to move on now, Mayor, or can we maybe revisit this?
What do you mean?
As far as any changes to the, I know we have the recommendations from Lynn, but I mean, this isn't something we need to do today or Thursday, right?
This was merely for discussion.
Okay, perfect.
If you all want to make a motion to do something, you can. As you